So yeah, I finally decided I'd catch up on the Oscar buzz. I went and saw Bohemian Rhapsody. It was pretty good. Got me really hot on the notion of like these musician biopics. So then I went out and got one on that epic reggae legend, and you might have seen it. The film's called Marley and Me. It was really good. I felt for that dog.
Wait. Hang on a second. Hang on. We're what, 30 seconds into the episode? Did you just equate black people with dogs?
Yes, you did.
Oh, Jesse Lee Peterson, please forgive me.
Nick, do you love black people? Do you love black people?
I do love black people.
Do you love black man?
Black people.
Love to take a crap. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the YouTube Saints. I'm sick as fuck. This is Nick, and this is Nate Talks to You. How you doing, guys?
Hello.
I'm so glad you're back, man. We had so much fun last time we were on here.
I remember we did a bit of. I was watching it earlier today. We were doing the booty shaking back then, and we had our little vegan debate there.
We did
a lot of drinking too.
Yeah. I'm carefully sipping because I do have a bit of a weakened immune system.
You sick?
Yeah. I have a head cold and AIDS, but I've got a head cold that knocked my wife on her ass for like 3 days, and I'm day 2 into it, so I'll be fine. But I'm just like, you know.
Today I don't have any alcohol. I just have water this time, but I'll try to make the show interesting regardless.
I don't think it's gonna be hard.
Some of the stories we have, definitely. I went through that.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's actually, that is a really new thing. I think you might be the second guest I've ever actually sent our materials to ahead of time, because usually they're not ready until we're already late. So, congrats! It's a new format edition.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And like I actually have to applaud Nick on this one, because usually I'm the tech guy and I'm doing some weird innovations and that kind of stuff. But he was like, hey, maybe instead of just sending a WordPad sheet of what we're doing tonight, do an interactive Google document. Bravo to you, Nick. Bravo.
I thought you were going to congratulate me for being able to start a Skype call. So.
Well, that was impressive as well.
Two things tonight. 2 bits of technical engineering wizardry on my part. That's right. I opened a Google Doc and I started a Skype call. I'm thinking tomorrow I might try and sign into my own email.
Take it easy there, Tiger. Don't stress yourself. Pull something. Well, what have you been up to lately, Nate?
I'm kind of retarded.
Well, for the past day or two, I've been on Twitter debating people over the recent PewDiePie accusations that he was the one responsible for the New Zealand shooting happening. I've already seen the hashtag unsubscribe from PewDiePie going around because I guess if you're a fan of somebody, therefore now you're guilty, kind of like how Marilyn Manson caused Columbine. Same kind of logic being used here, it seems like.
Yeah.
But I remember pointing out on Twitter that while PewDiePie, yes, he did follow some more alt-right, right-wing people, he was also following some left-winger people, like Tyler Oakley, the Green brothers, Lacey Green. These are people that hold very progressive values. And it seemed like a lot of people I was talking to, though, these are more anarcho-communist crowds, the tankies, so they're not left-wing enough, so they don't actually count.
Well, funny enough, that one actually re-inflamed the controversy over Lacey Green. There are people like saying all sorts of crazy shit about her, like she's a TERF, she's not.
No.
She fucks fascies, and like just the most absolutely obscene.
Chris Reagan, the Portuguese fascist who hangs out with black people. Yes,
Puerto Rican.
Totally racist, totally fascist.
No, he's Puerto Rican.
They're
all.
Oh,
yeah,
did I say Portuguese? Fuck me.
Yeah. No. There is a Portuguese
same.
fascist on YouTube, but we're not going to bring him up.
Man, I've seen multiple people accusing Lacey Green of being alt-right too, and yet whenever I question them on that, I say, okay, what is the proof? What is the proof? And they'll always find some way to segue away from actually answering the question. They'll say, are you kidding me? That'll be their one answer. Or they'll say, because she's fucking Chris Reagan, that makes her a fascist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got into it with one of them the other day, and I love how these kids always, like, you always see all this, like, shit. They talk about their, for workers and workers' rights, and they call each other comrade. And I found, at least from like with my background, the easiest way I found to fuck it up, because like I saw one of them like talking about Lacey saying like, oh, she's an alt-right like mouthpiece or some shit like that, comrade. And I'm like, hey, just out of curiosity, how many unions have you organized? Just out of curiosity.
Mhm.
Why? Oh, yeah, I don't know. You can say you're a labor activist. And he didn't spell it with a U. I just got to wonder, who the fuck are you? Really? I mean, like, yeah, all right. I mean, every time I watched Brawless, I definitely thought that I needed to secure the future for white children.
Oh,
But
my
that's
God. Oh, me
that's
too.
just because I can, yeah, I mean, I can watch reruns of the 80s Care Bears cartoon and think that. So, but
Speaking of which, that reminds me, is people accuse PewDiePie of being this racist, hateful bigot. This guy has run multiple charities for African countries,
Oh,
for
yeah.
India. So it seems like, I mean, if you want to destroy other races that aren't white, why would you want to give money to them? Why would you promote helping these people? I mean, obviously we can't read his mind, but he's not a racist in practice.
Right. In practice, absolutely not. In jokes and memes that are done for edginess, which is kind of edginess and jokes are the currency of the internet, whereas outrage is the currency of the meat space. So it's where those two like collide is when we have these really weird dynamics.
well, also, I mean, it's like we've almost reached, to peak woke hysteria in the sense that, like, if they've gotten to a point where these people are legitimately trying to convince everyone that PewDiePie is an ethno-nationalist, like Nazi, that's like scraping the bottom of the internet barrel for those kind of points because he's a goofy fucking Swede.
Yeah.
He's just a goofy ass Swede who just laughs at shit he finds in his own Reddit threads.
Now, do you think that they're actually honest? Do you think they really believe he's a racist, or do you think they're just trying to find some way to garner attention off of attacking this guy?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that one. Yeah.
Okay.
I was just gonna say yes to both of them. I think because who the fuck knows these people? I mean,
yeah.
these days when we get into these internet debates, right? People are like they go in this mad dash to get as like far into their corner as they can. I mean, today, like, I mean, it's fucking. There was a piece came out today. A well-known YouTuber is actually like coming out saying, "Well, I don't think he was radicalized. The New Zealand guy. I don't think he was radicalized by right wing. I think he just saw mass immigration, and all because what he did was horrible doesn't mean what he saw wasn't real." Like, really?
Oh, yeah, I know we talked about this before the stream. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Are we gonna tread in this particular drainage canal to try and get this working? And everyone these days, because it's like, either you get accused of one side or the other of being some horrible thing, right? And that just maybe alienates you from that side, or if you really view things in such this like stupid binary that you decide like, all right, I got to pick a side. Might as well go both barrels for wokeness or red pill or whatever the fuck it might be. And then the rest of us who don't buy into this shit, whole stock like that, we just get like shit talked as being centrist and don't believe in nothing. So it's a fun time.
So two things, at least as far as on the Lacey Green thing. One of the things that I find so amusing about this, the gateway for Lacey Green to kind of even start talking to that side actually was me, because she randomly popped into a Quiplash stream of mine. And I invited her, and we played Quiplash together, and then we became friends, and then I introduced her to Chris, introduced her to all those other people. So something that probably nobody really knows is, you guys know the documentary The Red Pill?
Yeah, I've watched the entire thing. Great documentary.
Yeah, with Cassie J.
Yep.
That reminds me, by the way, I'm going to be making a mini documentary pretty soon about a certain someone who appeared in the Red Pill documentary, but I won't actually name them, but I'm sure you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I actually showed Lacey Green that documentary. I shared it and streamed that with her through a Rabbit one night. And that, like, even that one in and of itself, she was like, it was a really interesting documentary. There were really interesting things that were said in there. I don't agree with it, but it was really interesting, and that was like the first sign of there was like a real receptiveness there.
Traitor!
I
You're
know.
traitors of the cause now.
I know. But that shows right there how that kind of communication isn't even available anymore. And I don't know about you, but one thing that I really cherish about you, Nate, is in this crazy changing, like, weird fucked up political dynamic, you still maintain your values no matter what while you're still critiquing these things. And there are a lot of fucking YouTubers who absolutely do not. So I really do appreciate that.
Well, yeah, I mean, while there are people on both sides of the spectrum who I get pushback from, I'm not just going to begin going further to one side or the other as some kind of way to spite the other side. I want to be as honest with myself as possible. And I don't care if there are some people from, quote unquote, my side. I'm going to maintain my position unless evidence comes forward to show that my position is wrong.
Absolutely.
And I try to maintain that as long as I can.
Well, that's the kind of the sad thing in, like, you know, what they call the skeptic world, and also like in commentary in general, is that, at least I remember, like, when I first started getting into the shit, it was about opposing dumb ideas, right?
Yeah.
It was just like, you know, social justice craziness was propping up everywhere, and, you know, it was easy to point and laugh at and then dissect and break down as to why it was dumb specifically. And then it's just like, and that's why I've actually kind of started I've taken to calling this like the modern pushback, as it was, because, you know, it's all free speech now. But I've noticed it's like the atheism problem that happened. There's not now like free speech plus, you know, free speech plus nationalism, free speech plus we must, you know, like crush, you know, Islam wherever we see it, free speech plus MAGA, you know, that kind of shit. And it's just the new evolution of like a new dog shit ideology that, because it's in opposition to the one that everybody's been hating for long enough, they just swallow it wholesale. Yeah. It's a bit disappointing. But on the bright side, though, if you're a snarky, cynical dick like me, there's plenty to talk about, bitch about, moan about.
So you have a very nihilistic way of looking at it. It's just like watch the entire thing burn and laugh at the whole thing.
It's like, well, it's like the pill's not quite black. It's sort of like that like just really dark gray that looks black in certain light, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's, you know, they say it's a heart medication, but it keeps making my dick hard, so I keep taking it.
I wouldn't say that necessarily I'm black-pilled about the whole thing. It's more, I'm just disappointed. That's pretty much all. Because, like, you know, when I got into it, which, you know, I was a science YouTuber first, then I did, you know, social commentary, and then I would fuck that and went back into science. But it's like Nick was saying, it was opposing stupid and shitty ideas. For me, it was never politically determined. It didn't really have anything to do with it. That was just like what was the most ridiculous at the time. Now, holy fuck. Oh my God. There's just crazy batshit all over the place. Everywhere. It's wonderful. Kind of makes me wish I was still in it, but no.
I do still love the fact, like, if I could go back to like 2014 or 2015, tell myself like, yeah, well, listen, in 2018, you're going to be at a bar in LA with a bunch of other YouTubers, and Lacey Green's going to kick her feet up with you and go shot for shot with Jameson after she's already had a few and put you to shame. I wouldn't believe it, but I'm glad it was true.
I'm wondering, man, you both seem to have more interaction with other people in the skeptic crowd more than I do. I'm kind of in my own circle, I feel like, at times. But
sure.
What do you see the future of the skeptic community being in, say, 5 years from now?
I think I've got a pretty good answer for that. So there has been something that I termed only for myself as the great splintering, and what really it was anti-social justice content just got really boring for the most part, unless you had a very good cogent argument, or you just played by the paint by numbers rule book, which, you know, some people are still doing. And so a lot of people who were under that moniker, people like Some Black Guy and Chris Reagan, etc., they now move towards entertainment videos. They don't really care that much. They'll dip their toes in.
Well, they still laugh at some crazy left-wing ideas, but they're not like fighting the quote-unquote culture war. It's just more about like laughing and being a comedian now.
Well, we also, yeah, I mean, well, like, you notice that the response video format pretty much died. Like,
yeah,
there's still a few people, yeah, who still run with like the, you know, the static image, and then they just either respond to a video or a news item. But
I mean, Baring's doing pretty well from what I've seen. I mean, he seems to have adopted that.
Well, he owns
method.
that. Yeah, he
Yeah.
owns that. He owns
Yeah.
that real estate. There's no moving him from that.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but like Bering has his whole methodology so down to what he wants to achieve that ultimately it doesn't even necessarily matter. Bering's the kind of guy who's so honest. You could ask him, is it about the message or is it about, like being profitable? He'll be like, both, but depending on the day, it might be more one than the other. It just depends on the video. And he'll be honest about it,
I mean, as long as the people that are watching you enjoy your content, really, who gives a shit? I mean,
exactly.
I mean, there are some people who try to find ways to make money in ways that disadvantage their viewers, but as long as they're still laughing and enjoying your stuff, then who gives a shit what your motivations are?
Yeah, who cares? I would say with things like Sargon moving into politics, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen with that. But here's what I think the Skeptic community is going to look like in 4 or 5 years. It's not going to be any of the same people that you're used to. I think it's going to be people like the Non Sequitur show, people that are kind of like surrounding that. I see a repeat of what happened 4 or 5 years ago happening with new players. And some of them are really talented. There's some really talented new science-minded, atheist-minded people who are making videos these days, and they're really good. They're really good.
Yeah, I love to see that we're having a current resurgence of atheism right now. I mean, I'm seeing a much more formal, clean-cut, professional way of covering atheism now that you didn't see in the past. So, I mean, one example of a YouTuber I like a lot is Rationality Rules, where, I mean, you look at YouTubers from the past, they're a bit more edgy, which is fine, but it's good to see a change of pace and having more diversity of content methodology.
Genetically modified Skeptic, he is bringing an A game to how he does it. I mean, his delivery is very dry, as in like his expressiveness, but how he words things is very effective, very effective, and it's reflected in the growing of his viewer base. So I think that's pretty much what's going to happen.
And yet there are people I see, especially from the like alt-right Catholic Twitter, they keep saying over and over again, atheism is dying, atheism is dying. And yet I see all of these atheist YouTubers just growing and spiking up and more subscribers. It's like, I mean, yeah, it's not true. Atheism is still here. It's still going strong. So I don't know what you're talking about.
I think on YouTube, one of the problems was that it just, it's like every other sort of genre as it was, that eventually, like, at least for a short period of time, all the fresh new ideas were kind of tapped. Like, there was people sort of ran out of things to say because everything had been said a million times. And it was almost like like everything else, it needed sort of a cooling off period so that new developments could happen, new questions could arise, new perspectives could sort of be sort of looked at from different ways, which, I mean, it's a nice thing to see. And I think another problem with that, though, is because so much of it, especially after Atheism Plus, it all got wrapped up into one big ball that they ended up just calling the Skeptics. And so then you got you had people like Devin Tracy going around, and it was like, okay, well, he got big with his atheism stuff, and then he decided to move into like whatever dog shit you want to call that, right?
I know he got a lot of flack back in, I think, 2016, because he began talking about race and statistics, and there are a lot of people who took issue with that. I don't know if he covers that now. I haven't watched him in a while, but yeah, that caused a big uproar.
Yeah, and he also had the whole he got what I've seen a lot of YouTubers get, especially when like they get up there in numbers, was it became hubris. It was like he'd have entire streams where all he would do would be like to bitch out people like he's fucking Keemstar in his chat and like, it's the summer of the ducks and all that shit.
I'll put it this way. Here's the thing about Devin. And I don't like Devin. Devin really doesn't like me. We have not liked each other for years. Really butted heads. I tried, but yeah, we don't like each other. But I will give Devin this. Even when he goes into edgy content and he talks about things that are like racially minded, very charged and political, at times it can sound like he's starting to say something really, really fucked up. Like he's about to start going hardcore into extremism. But when the conversation drifts to something that he does not believe in, he shuts it down. Like Devin, you got to give Devin one thing. And one little bit of respect I will give him. He is so fucking pig-headed in his ideals that he will never fall into extremism. He might just believe some stupid shit, but like you can't suck him into something that he doesn't want to get into. So he has his
Well,
own.
I do remember there
mind.
was a clip of him on a certain podcast where he was talking to a different guy who was a Holocaust denier, and this guy was saying some ridiculous stuff about roller coasters or whatever. It seemed like he was just trying to misrepresent what a book said. And Devin Tracy stuck at it. He would not go along with that rhetoric. He didn't try to fall into that trap of what that guy was saying. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, me too. And that's the thing that I give Devin respect for is like he doesn't let people change or modify his belief system. His beliefs is his own. He knows his own mind. Nobody gets to fuck with that. So I'll respect him for that, even though I still don't like him at all. But whatever.
But I mean, I guess in a way, though, I guess it kind of does feed into the same notion I was trying to get at before, though, is that, you know, as a community, as a movement, as a genre, it kind of petered out. And then I also think because, you know, it's like so many other things, when a genre or a community, as it was, comes to be sort of identified by big name individuals, right? And they sort of start setting some of the tones. First, you're going to get conflict between them, but then it all kind of gets lost because everything gets said, everything gets repeated, and then it becomes so focused on personality that discussion about things like why the concept of God is silly, let's say, or how religion is harmful, that gets lost in the fold. It was the same thing when it came to like the anti-social justice shit. We now have, like I said, free speech plus. And you can take pretty much any genre that has any amount of required thinking to it, and you'll see this shit happen.
So, real quick, I got to do some catch-up.
Also, check your DMs when you're done, Jeff.
Check my DMs? On what?
Yeah.
On Twitter?
Just you can check your Twitter DMs. You can check your phone because I texted you. Technical issue.
Oh, okay. But I gotta scoot you over. Can I show you? Can I show you? I can't do that too much. You see that right up there? Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. You see that fucking thing? Yeah.
Yeah. I see a little miniature screen of us in the corner.
But I can make it bigger.
That works. I just felt like I felt like I was about to fall off the edge. And no, listen, I need Nate. I need my damn pills, okay? I need my damn pills for that.
Andy Monster says, "Do you love black people?" I think we all love black people. Andy Monster also says, "Jeff doesn't think it's gonna be hard, but if it gets, I am here." Ooh, okay. Also said, "I get drunk and I post about bread while doing the pre-show." Twitter.com/BlairAddy. Why are you named Blair Addy? Whatever. Kat says, "Will you guys get Moist Critical on the show one of these days?" Man, anytime Critical wants to get on, here's the thing though. If we ever get Charlie on, I might act like a complete asshole and try and suck his dick, because that's when sexy fucking happen. All right.
Do you have some kind of like vacuum in your ass or something?
Look. Shut up. Ward Off Demon says, "Hey guys, I love the Saints Network. Thanks for the shill on midweek. I got my goal." Well, yeah, we got him to affiliate on Twitch. Hell yeah, dude. Anime Moon says, "I think I found the future of whiteness. Anime John Nye. This is real, yo. This is real and nice and squeaky clean for YouTube. I promise." All right, Anime Moon. We'll look at it in a minute.
You know, I would love in the future. Have you ever covered Jesse Lee Peterson on the show before?
Not in like a full segment, but we'll make Jesse Lee Peterson cracks here and there.
I got that reference earlier. I remember watching the entire Destiny debate. That guy, he does this shit, where he'll keep asking you the same question over and over until you answer it the way he wants to respond. These very loaded questions he'll bring forth to you. So he's like quite a character.
He's like a shitty girlfriend.
So he recently Destiny did a debate with Vincent James on Jesse Lee Peterson's show. And Jesse was actually moderating. He did a pretty good job, except he did make it a point, both at the beginning and at the end of the show. He's like, "So Destiny, it's a girl's name. You a gamer? How old are you?" "I'm 30. You play video games? You know you ain't gonna get no wife if you play video games." And Destiny,
beta!
Yeah, beta! And every time... Desi's like, "Jesse, we've been through this. You're not married either. What are you talking about?" "That's not the point. That's not the point."
Stop asking you.
I love Jesse Lee Peterson. He's a Muppet. He's absolutely a Muppet.
I just wonder if he's actually, it's all a character or not. I can't really tell with him, because it just seems like, how could he run a show if he's that dumb?
I don't know.
He just pulls off the prosthetic forehead that just makes him have those kind of like dumb "I live at a bus stop" eyes.
He Kaiser Soze's, you know.
He goes like wandering out of the studio like, "That was a good show." Oh my god, I can't keep doing this.
There's a conspiracy theory going around because he's always looking down that somebody is literally feeding him his lines. And he's basically just a fucking puppet and just reading whatever somebody is like typing for him to do.
He's like Ron Burgundy.
Yeah. Degens Lin Sang says, I never thought I'd see the first person in social commentary I ever watched in the same show with the last people I've ever watched that do social commentary. How are you doing, Nate?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Let me correct you real quick. I'm the last person you should be watching for social commentary.
Addy Monster says, sorry for shilling my Twitter. You don't have to post that. Hi, Mom. Yami said, had a very long day. So glad it's Friday night for the YouTube Saints. And it's a good poker with the guys after. Oh, yeah, there is poker night in the Discord after the show. Rimshi says, Nick, would you consider doing self-help book review / commentary on your channel? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Oh, that's actually been strongly recommended by Anahata Hearts as well. Reading it, not reviewing it, but that could be fun.
Magog says $2 for the number 2 show on Friday. SideQuest is the $1 show, which SideQuest will be live as soon as our show ends. So go watch SideQuest once we're done.
And I agree with Magog. For every $1 you pay them, you should pay us too.
And just 2 more real fast. Miles Kinslow, hey guys, just want to support. Also, can someone tell Bernie Bros to stop calling Bernie daddy like Milo? Had a disturbing image of Bernie as a leather daddy in a club. That is an interesting one.
It is a bit cringy.
Well, I mean, it's not just that, but like, have you seen that Milo is trying to make a comeback?
As a Bernie bro or what?
No,
he's trying to climb out of his Equifax hole at the moment.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, that guy has so much dirt on him now. All the pedophilia, apologism. I mean, all the weird, hateful comments he's made. I'm really not sure if he can bounce back from all of this. I mean, even the Conservative Party deplatformed him, so even they don't want to have a piece of that guy. I'm not sure what he can do.
Well, okay. I mean, I've maintained. Do you tell me what you think about this, Nate? I've maintained for a while Milo's entire character, because I got to be familiar with him in like the early days of Gamergate, right? When he was still like a sort of stodgy British writer reporter guy. He's very prim and proper about his shit. I remember when Brianna Wu canceled on him, he had this very, I had other column obligations and all these other things, very prim and professional. And then as soon as like he started with the flamboyant shit, I was like, this guy wants to be Oscar Wilde. That's all this is. He wants to be a 21st century Oscar Wilde.
Okay.
Well, he said before that like if you want to fight against the left wing or whatever, you had to be outrageous. So that was kind of the whole message he'd put forward all throughout 2015.
Right.
Oh, by the way, Nate, do you have the My Circle open?
Yeah, I just sent it to you guys because we're gonna have to look at something in a second. Sir Sick, the Social Inequality Crusader says, "Me am the stupid." I love you, Sir Sick. I think you're a great dude. We gotta hang out.
You've been around
sometime.
for a while too.
Yeah, Sir Sick makes fucking awesome videos. I've been watching his shit for fucking ever. Okay, here's the reason why we need to watch this. Since we brought up Milo and what he's trying to do to come back, this is what he's trying to do to come back.
Oh dear.
You want to do one more serious one all the way through?
Yeah, sure.
Oh no.
Loading, please wait. That's what I'm getting right now.
Oh, okay. I'll wait for it to make sure it loads all the way.
I'm horrified.
This is bad. This is.
Oh, is this about his music career? His cringy music career as a Christmas singer now?
Yes.
Jesus Christ. What are you doing,
can't
Milo?
Wait.
All right. Is it loaded up?
Go back to bathing in blood. Yeah, it's good for me now.
Yes, Milo is now trying to start a singing career with gospel. Oh my god.
I mean, his voice isn't horrible, but it's not really good enough to have a full-blown career out of it.
I went to dinner with this guy.
Glowing
what
out
you
of
like
that.
there?
Really quiet, actually. He was extremely quiet. He pretty much he was courteous, but for the most part, the loudest thing he said was, "Can I get some more mayonnaise for my fries?" And that was pretty much it.
I've heard from other people too. There's a patron of mine who has a friend who met Milo back in the day, and he said that like half of the stuff he says in the public eye, it's all just part of an act. It's all for profit.
It is.
So that doesn't shock me if in person he's no longer this outrageous character.
Yeah, none of that was ever especially too serious for him.
Oh, I thought that was him for a second.
I mean, I guess I'll give him props for trying something new, but
desperate anything to hold back the tide of irrelevancy. I want to get where he actually belts it out.
I'd rather have Jesus than silver and gold. Don't give me your mansion on top of.
It sounds nothing like him either.
That's him?
That's him.
Don't give me the word.
I'm kind of impressed. I mean, it's cringy, but
if it's actually, I mean, he does have a good voice. He doesn't smoke. He takes really good care of himself. Maybe he can do it. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel sorry for his hair, though. All that bleach going in there. I mean, they must be screaming.
Yeah. And look, with all the pedophile allegations, you know, and now he wants to sing gospel music, he might fit in really well with some Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry for that. I apologize.
But just give me a savior.
All right, anyway, fucking Jesus Christ.
wow.
But I mean, as far as taking care of himself, I mean, this is the guy who would go to the gym and mock obese people in there who were trying to lose weight and get in shape. He'd ridicule these people and say, "Oh, just being in my presence, oh, you must leave. You disgust me."
Mm-hmm.
And then lo and behold, on Instagram and on Facebook, he's posting images boasting about being wealthy enough to get liposuction. So fuck him.
Well, I just, whenever people bring up that famous little troll of his, like, just stop being poor. I'm reminded of a line from one of Dr. Randomer Cam's wonderful cartoon songs about being a bum, a homeless person. And he says, but if you've taken out a mortgage or a student loan or two, that bum is several grand better off than you. 2 million in the hole. That's a deep hole to climb out of with the Christmas album. But, you know, Jingle All the Way made it for Schwarzenegger.
So he actually is in depth. I've heard mixed stories that it's all just hype or it actually is true. So I'm not really sure what to believe at this point regarding his financial situation.
Yeah, well, I mean, we know
2 million in the hole.
The privilege grant, all that money's gone. Long gone.
Where's the money, Milo?
Where's the money, Milo?
I'm gonna go piss on one of his bearskin rugs. Really tight the room together.
All right. I'm trying to find something, but in the meantime, this is what Anime Moon sent us about. What was this? The future of whiteness. Okay, let's check this out.
これ怖いよ。これ怖いね。めっちゃ怖いなこれ。めっちゃ。これめっちゃ怖いな。上話でしょ。
So it's called Japanese shower scare prank. Okay, well, let's see.
これはやだ。うわ。これね、頭に血が上るし。気づいてほしいんやろなこれ。なかなか気づかない。血が上る。なかなか気づかない。後ろ後ろ。頭に血が上る。庄司さん後ろ見て。
Japan has an interesting media back there. They have I've seen shows where they eat fake food. It's like guess if their food is real or fake. They have shows where they give you a hand job, you have to sing while you're getting a hand job.
Oh,
So
yeah.
a lot raunchier content over there.
Oh, yeah, we watched actually. We previously watched one where bunch of 20 or 30-something-year-old dudes sitting in a classroom, and every time they got a quiz question wrong, they'd have a line of ninjas run by and viciously spank them.
Yeah. That was a good one, actually. That
really was, yeah.
Hello, my name is.
That one was pretty impressive.
And of course, their metal bands are fucking amazing.
I'm trying to find something real fast. Where was it?
Actually, Nate, and everyone watching too, if you don't know this already, if you are a fan of either metal or jazz or any music that's remotely technical, find a Japanese ensemble. You will see what you'll see what it means to sacrifice your mental health and your social relations to make sure that you can play perfectly. It's pretty insane. I mean, oh shit. I mean, anybody who's familiar with Cowboy Bebop, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you ever heard the soundtrack to that, you know how fucking tight their jazz orchestras get.
Okay. Yeah, it was here. Hang on.
Magog feels white shamed.
Hello.
Magog feels white shamed? Okay. This
Yeah,
video
that
is
goes with
no
Taylor
longer on YouTube, and I'm totally okay with that. Where is it? Where is that section? Is this section? Shit, I just found it. Motherfucker.
It's always interesting going through the evolution of people's different hairstyles and beard styles over time.
Oh,
Yeah, right
I
here you
know.
had this like Captain Jack Sparrow look going on, I see.
I did. Oh, there we go. All right, let's watch this.
And give me a hug and in some way engage with me. So me and Milo, we recorded a shout out video to them. Hi Shu. Hi Shu. And hi Memory. Bye. Bye. So at this.
Yeah, me and Milo. Fucking, he's nice. He was a nice guy. But yeah, weird, man, weird.
So how, if you were to meet Milo again today, how would you treat him if you ever saw him in person?
Where's the fucking money, Milo?
Well, it could be a nice reversal from like the last time, because you could just show up and be like, "Hey, Milo, tell you what, I'll pay you $40 to help you out of that $2 million hole if you a little bit of handy job, you know." Like, come, just sit next to me here at the Denny's. No one will mind.
I am gonna be completely 100% honest with you. He had very soft hands, and that is a very, very handsome man. He's a very handsome man. He is.
And he's got some experience wanking dudes off, so
it's true. Soft
hands, straight teeth. How can you not go for that, Jeff? Come on. Nate, how can you not go for that?
The thing about him is that he just looks very artificial to me. I mean, his face is obviously caked in foundation.
Yeah, it is.
So I don't know. The guy just looks very uncanny valley to me.
After I gave him a hug, there was bronzer on my shirt. It's actually, that is, I will 100% confirm that actually did happen, yeah.
Makeup smudges.
So I just imagine you dump a bucket of water on him, he turns into some creepy zombie afterwards.
Yeah, he ends up looking like what's that Fox News? I think she got in trouble and she's not on there anymore. She looked like a melted candle.
I'll be honest with you. Megyn Kelly?
No, older, way older.
Bill O'Reilly.
Sure, okay.
Bill O'Reilly looks like a nylon stocking filled with mashed potatoes in person.
And Coulter.
Oh,
yeah. Well, she's always been like very. She got the Adam's apple and everything.
Yeah.
See, if you'd just said
Transvestigations episode of the YouTube Saints, everybody. This is the Transvestigations episode.
Well,
I love those scandals. Like, they have these entire YouTube channels dedicated to nothing but video after video trying to say, oh, if you look at her jawline right here, if you look at her arm, she's a man.
Yeah, they're trying to measure the hands and shit in pictures.
I really want to. I mean, if I could ask any celebrity
drawing triangles over their bodies,
I would like to ask Sarah Jessica Parker her take on Ann Coulter being a horse. What's up, kiddo?
Hi.
You off to bed?
No, not yet.
Okay, what time is it?
9:46.
All right. Well, all the screens go off now, right?
Right.
Screens go off, and then we read a book.
Yes.
You want to say hi to the people?
Yeah.
All right, say hi to the people.
Yes.
Hello, everybody.
The Empress.
Hello.
They say hello.
I was
Let's
wondering,
see.
I'm wondering, Jeff and Nick, since you're both parents, what is your advice? What is your take on how to handle being a YouTube personality and having children? Like, how close should they be to this environment?
Okay. Me and Nick have a little bit different of experiences in this. I will tell you honestly, keep your kid off the internet as much as possible. I loved sharing my family, loved sharing like pictures of my kid. But the moment I got into a very serious contention with some pretty obnoxious and serious trolls, like they use that as a source of weakness.
They don't give a fuck. They'll go after your entire family. They have no morality.
So I try, aside from like maybe my kid now running on when I'm doing like my Twitch stream or something like that, I completely keep him off the internet because it's not worth it, man. It's just not worth it.
As for Quinn, that's an entirely different story.
Well, Quinn's becoming a young woman, and you know she's got her own mind. My kid's so young at this point. You know.
No, I mean, with me, Quinn and I, we got a really tight relationship, and she always wants to know what it is I'm doing and if she can have any kind of part in it. And it was a few years back. I want to say maybe 4 years ago. Yeah, about 4 years ago. She comes down while I'm in the middle of recording a video, and so I'm just like, all right, screw it. Let's just make a video where you say hi. And ever since then, I've actually used her in a number of promos for the show, which
is brilliant.
Which the audience tends to. I think in general they probably like her more than they like either of us at this point, which is fine. Yeah, and so it's like I ask her, I'm like, what do you want to be when you grow up? She's like, a YouTuber. I'm like, all right, you changed your mind right now.
Yeah, no.
Now, I guess my personal take is I don't have a kid yet, but I have a younger sister. And I've debated in the past maybe having her make some like small cameo in like a sketch video in the past. But because of the kind of content that I make, political content, I feel that for her own safety, it's better off that she just has no involvement on the internet. I mean, she can go online, but she right now is 13 years old.
Ooh,
that's kind of it's a little dodgy, but it's fair. I mean, really, if you're worried about like that nasty shitbag blowback like the type Jeff has had to deal with, what I've noticed is that tends to require that somehow you be dragged into their frame of reference and their focus. Like it's they're like T-Rex from Jurassic Park. You have to move in front of them for them to see you. And then after that, it's like, oh yeah, it's like lolzy fucking. Oh, I've got no fucking. I have no sense of decency. So lol. I wonder what a pussy tastes like. Might as well fuck with these people's families. But by and large, like if you've got an audience where with a bunch of people who enjoy your shit but fundamentally disagree with you all the time, right? Like in my experience, people will usually even drop those kind of disagreements and they'll be like, I think you're a fucking cucked out libtard, but you got a great kid.
Aw.
Yeah. I mean, like I've yet to hear anyone actually trying to speak an ill word of Quinn. Probably because they know I'll buy airline tickets and shotguns. It's like I'll see you at your home in Hawks Bluff, Montana, is it? Get a shovel. So well, yeah, I mean it's one of those weird things, you put yourself at risk just by going on the internet, just by letting your name get out there. And
you do.
Yeah. And so it's a risk you run with everything.
And the moment that you end up like in the risky clicky part of the internet is really when you have to be kind of careful. But I mean, at some point, I think it's all right. It's all right. Here's the thing that you have to keep in mind as well, and this is the thing that I didn't quite understand myself getting into it. Is like being a YouTuber, and you're bigger than both of us. As far as like subscribers and reach and that sort of thing.
No, I think it's more than just one way, but yeah, we'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, all right. But wow. So anyway, like when you become a public figure, then you yourself are giving up certain amounts of right to privacy, right? But when you have other people around in your life, if they're in your videos, you're dragging them into that political available sphere. And especially kids who are very young, you know, you just have to be extremely mindful of how that's going to affect them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
well,
it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Well, we could, we have a tendency to go on and on, which you all know, but we do have news, we do have segments, we do have formats. So, Jeff.
Oh, sure.
Shall we get to it?
Let's get right into a news.
Mm-hmm.
Representative Steve King belittles Hurricane Katrina victims for needing help, unlike Iowans. Oh, dear. Okay.
Keep in mind, this is the same guy who just recently was got a little bashed up in the news for saying, I don't see anything wrong with white nationalism.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Good job.
Did he really?
I'm kind of retarded.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, no, he was in the press, I think, I want to say maybe 2 weeks ago. Just flat out saying he doesn't think there's anything wrong with white nationalism. Your GOP, everybody.
The dude does look kind of like a Sith Lord, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Lighting. You need to Photoshop a big cloak over his head. He'd look perfect.
Yeah. Now, granted, this is from Slate, right? So naturally, you know, there's going to be some assumption of bias. But I mean, it's not an unfair statement when they say a man who makes news with openly racist, white supremacist, and otherwise offensive comments enough that his own party finally stripped him of his committee assignments. Hey, Steve.
Ooh, okay.
Yep.
Dredged up an old racist complaint while speaking at a town hall in an overwhelmingly white city of the Charter Oak, Iowa, Thursday night. Here's what FEMA tells me. We go to a place like New Orleans and everybody's looking around saying, who's going to help me? Who's going to help me? We go to a place like Iowa and we go knock on the door at, say, I make up a name, John's place, and say, John, you got water in your basement. We can write you a check. We can help you. And John will say, well, wait a minute. Let me get my boots. It's Joe that needs help. Let's go down to his place and help him. While King, in praising Iowans for their response to the recent flooding along the Missouri River, did not explicitly say why he singled out residents of New Orleans 14 years ago, the majority black city has long been subject to racist tropes about laziness and reliance on police handouts. King, who in his comments boasted that he had visited New Orleans after the hurricane and participated in relief efforts, was one of a small number in Congress to oppose a bill providing federal aid to the victims, according to the Washington Post. Hurricane Katrina was the deadliest storm to hit the U.S. in nearly 8 decades. At least 1,833 people, mainly in Louisiana, died from the storm and its floods. Nearly half of those who died in Louisiana were older than 74.
Those fucking septuagenarians should have grabbed the goddamn boots and just, you know, got the buckets to get the water out their city. Right, Steve?
Now, regardless of whether or not there's racist meaning behind those comments, I mean, why would you go out there, you know, as a public servant, someone representing the American people, and just diss an entire city of people and just call them all lazy? I mean, from that position, it's just the most unprofessional behavior from a politician you can think of.
Well, just remember that this is the same guy who has been routinely reelected ever since breaking all sense of decorum during the State of the Union to call President Obama a liar, right? So I have a sneaking suspicion that at least the voting majority of his constituency are probably the type who like to hear like, yeah, we're better than them lazy, you know, those folks down there.
Which is pretty scary. I mean, people talk about how, I mean, we certainly have gone far in getting rid of racism in this country, but when you have people like this who can go out there and say white nationalism is okay, and people still keep voting for him over and over again, it shows that we still have a ways to go in some places.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that I keep coming back to a lot when it comes to like political commentary, is people are like, yeah, well, but you know, we need to fight against like this hardcore extremism on the left, and then you point them towards Steve King, and a lot of people are like, he's just set in his ways. No, he's not just set in his ways. He's a fucking racist douchebag. He's legit. Steve King is a racist piece of shit.
Yeah,
I will absolutely state that. I will stake my fucking reputation on me saying that I think Representative Steve King, after how many fucking years that he's been saying all this god-awful shit, like when a pattern happens, you tend to be able to draw a conclusion that the dude is actually a legit racist piece of shit. And here's the thing. Here's the thing that fucking makes me mad about this, too. I was in New Orleans right after the fucking hurricane. I was there. I saw the people. I saw the fucking damage. I heard the stories of people fucking dying. In fact, in my house, we had 16 wheelchairs. Why do we have 16 wheelchairs? Because we would go walking down the street, and there would be giant piles of debris, sometimes 16, 20 feet fucking tall, piles of debris just on the side of the fucking street. You know what the most common thing we found in there? Wheelchairs! Wheelchairs from old people who died and drowned in the fucking flood, and nobody needs a wheelchair anymore. So us gutter punks went and got those wheelchairs, and we had wheelchair races in dead people's fucking seats. Morbid? Yes, but that's what happens when you have a city that gets decimated like this. To compare it to Iowa, which undoubtedly Iowa is really getting fucked up. Nebraska's getting fucked up, for sure. But to compare it to Katrina is absolutely fucking asinine and a dickhead maneuver. Fuck this guy.
We got, I mean,
damn.
I'd say though probably a safe bet. You know, let's give his voters, let's give his constituents in Iowa some credit and say like, all right, well, you know, they're probably not a majority of racist douchebags or anything. But it's a funny thing that I saw. It's like a pattern I noticed emerging when it comes back to this super divided shit. Is that during the Kavanaugh hearings, right now? I looked into Kavanaugh and I found like his positions on privacy, on executive authority, on regulation, on industrial corruption, all those things, terrifying fucking positions. Really, like you have to be like a dyed-in-the-wool neoconservative to really go for it. But a bunch of people were cheering on his confirmation, admitting they knew nothing about his judicial record simply because he would, quote, teach the left a lesson. And then, you know, can it really be surprising in this like culture war environment where you've got a bunch of people saying like, well, you know, I'm okay with, you know, certain parts of the alt-right and like, you know, fascists, just because I would rather live under a fascist nation than a communist one, as though that's the choice they're actually fucking posed with.
That is a scary thing, that we have an entire culture of people now who don't really have any genuine beliefs beyond just wanting to spite the other side because they got upset on social media. I mean, this is the future of our country we're talking about. Yes, there are people on the left who say really dumb shit. But at the end of the day, you know, don't destroy your country just for the lulz.
No, I mean, you heard the same thing with a lot of Trump voters too. I mean, we're now seeing like the real hardcore cultists in the MAGA scene really emerge, right? Where, you know, you've got Glenn Beck going up and saying, if he loses in 2020 America as we know it will end. But then at the same time, you had a lot of people who did honestly support him just because they thought he would trigger the libs. And
well,
they
we're seeing a transition.
Yeah, well, I mean, they probably also honestly figured that he'd be basically like useless, like, you know, because the guy doesn't know anything about how the legislature really works. He'd be surrounded by sharks who know how to get things done, and they all have their own agendas, and he'd just be this mindless puppet like Bush. And instead we get the megalomaniac nightmare that we see today. But I mean, this is the kind of thing, like, you know, people like Steve King continue to sit in positions of power because the value judgments that the people who put him there are making, and the formulas that they put into making those judgments are just fundamentally fucking broken, apparently.
But about the Trump cult for a minute, have you seen this new uprising of the quote-unquote Yang Gang?
Yeah.
Wang Gang. Wang Gang is where it's at.
No, Yang Gang. There's a candidate...
Yang Gang
old news.
Wang Gang.
Yeah. We got to get Justin Wang elected to office, even though he probably, especially if he doesn't want it.
Phil. So I understand that there's a guy named, what is it, Andrew Yang?
Andrew Yang, yes.
Andrew Yang. What is? I honestly don't really understand what this is all about. What is the thing with Wang Gang?
No, the thing is that he is a business executive who's trying to push for a thing called universal basic income, where I think every U.S. citizen will get so much money, I think, per month, so they can survive. And this is in retaliation to the increase in automation in certain kinds of jobs, because a lot of workers in, let's say, the coal industry, their jobs are going away, and they're not coming back because robots will take these jobs over.
Right.
So these people cannot, you know, quote unquote, learn the code. They're going to be jobless for a long time. So to help them survive, they want to, Andrew Yang wants to give them universal basic income so they, you know, don't starve to death or whatever.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I mean, yeah, but the Yang Gang meme, as far as I can tell, though, it does seem to be getting pushed by a lot of Trumpkins and the like as something of like a spoiler. Because it's funny how people forget how these work. Like they act fucking dumbfounded every time like groups or packs or interests or even just like people in like their own weird grassroots ways try to fuck up an election. Because does anybody here remember Puma during the primary fight between Obama and Clinton?
Well, no.
Party unity. It stood for Party Unity My Ass. And they were trying to push for women Democrats to support Palin as a matter of sisterhood and solidarity, because the Democrats were so sexist that they pushed Hillary out and elected Obama. And it was a massive troll, really. And I think the hashtag Yang Gang is largely just that.
Can I ask a question though? So I don't know how big of a Star Trek fan you are, Nate.
I know about Star Trek. I'm not an avid fan of it though.
Okay. Well, one of the things that is part and parcel with Star Trek, but it also comes down to a larger type of philosophy, is the notion of the singularity. And one of the forms that the singularity takes form of, the singularity basically means something that happens that changes everything about the human condition. We have to learn a whole new way to live. One of those, and it kind of goes part and parcel with the Star Trek philosophy, is humanity post-greed. Greed is gone. We abolish greed. Greed doesn't even actually mean anything anymore, which means there's no more money. There's no more capitalism. There's no more anything. Now, here's the thing that I've always been thinking about, and that's the world that Star Trek takes place in. That was Gene Roddenberry's utopia. Was that humanity now is solely focused on things like exploration and scientific innovation, which is laudable but seems silly, because you have to think about how would you necessarily convince an entire race of beings to give up on one of its main motivating and driving factors, which is the procurement of goods, the stability of your own lifestyle, and the propagation of wealth for your future spawn. Well, I mean, maybe one of the forms that could take is that automation gets so good that almost all labor is completely replaced with robots. And then how do you pay and allow these people to live their lives?
That is the question. That is the question. And UBI may be the solution. We'll have to see. But
maybe.
Yeah, as for us to just totally eliminate greed, I mean, it sounds ideal, but I think it's very utopian.
Well,
yeah, it's a thought experiment. It's good for sci-fi. It's not good for now. I mean, you know.
Well, let me add to that, Jeff, though, because I mean, the singularity, it's more than just a post. I wouldn't even call it post-scarcity, because we're post-scarcity now. But yeah, I mean, it's an elimination of greed, but I mean, at least my interpretation has always been that singularity is actually when mankind neurally integrates itself into what is basically a cloud network, so that the data that is our lives, experiences, thoughts, emotions, memories, and such get basically shared. So we are able to see and experience everything through everyone's perspective simultaneously. Therefore, the simple act or the impulse of greed is something which violates that, because you're taking from one becomes you're taking from yourself. So any harm done to anyone else, you experience yourself. That would eliminate greed and predation in theory. A bit utopian. At that point, though, if we ever get to a point like that, there won't even be a universal basic income, because income will be an irrelevant concept.
So, are you familiar with the book Brave New World?
Oh yeah. Yes. Oh my God.
I could imagine something very close to that coming in the future, where people are perhaps unhappy because a lot of the jobs that gave them purpose in life are now gone. So we mass produce medication to keep people in a constant state of happiness, and maybe they just, I don't know, sit on their ass all day in a virtual reality.
I thought we did that already.
Future.
Huxley was a mad fucking prophet, man. He honestly was.
In fairness, I'm sorry. fucking throw this out there. I just have to, because everyone who reads Huxley, well, not everyone, but so many people who read Huxley think it's just a parallel to Orwell's 1984 about some spooky. No, what he does in Brave New World is he poses us with a choice, which we exist with now. Either you can tolerate, accept, and live within the absurd world and society that you are born into, or you can reject it and basically just take your chances as a savage in the wild.
Right.
Now, personally, I wouldn't be that opposed to living in the Brave New World environment, because, I mean, I think in the end, what is the point of living if your life is miserable? You might as well be happy while you're living. So if there's a medication to keep you in a constant state of being happy, then yeah, more power to it. I know from the outside looking in, it looks scary, but if you were on that medication, you wouldn't know any better.
I'll put it this way: it's something that I've thought about quite a bit through, and I don't want to get too heavy because I got to get to these Streamlabs, but it is something that I think about quite a bit, and it's something that kind of pulled me out of a very depressive, suicidal ideation state when I was much younger, which was I would rather suffer for 80 years than feel nothing at all. And I really believe that. I really believe that, because the very idea of not experiencing and not feeling anything for me is more of a terrifying concept than just being miserable and sad. The concept of the void is one of the most horrifying things I could possibly think of.
Yeah, you guys might be surprised to learn this in the audience, but when Jeff was in that state, he was maintaining an Angel Fire blog, which ended up being the inspiration for an entire Lumineers album.
It was GeoCities, fuck you, and you weren't supposed to talk about it. Addy Monster says, Milo spent all the grant money on mayo for his chips when he had dinner with Jeff. That's true. That was a lot of mayo he put on that shit. Jeff and Milo were in cahoots. Don't let him lie to you. Jeff spent it on dread removal surgery. Look, when I took my dreads out, it practically was surgery. It was awful. Yami says, it's okay, Jeff. My older brother, John, doesn't even have his Facebook post anything of his kids, strictly professional. My eldest brother, Scotty, both he and my sister-in-law have my nephew all over their FB, Facebook. However, they keep their Facebook private, although I worry. Yeah, you got to be careful with kids and social media. Ward Off Demon says, Jeff, I just sent the song I've been writing. It's called Bleed It. It's performed to Beat It by Michael Jackson. It's about anti-vaxxers. Oh, yeah, I'm singing a song for my buddy who's making this song.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, fuck.
Concept album.
Jables at the $50 says, is Jeff still doing shots? If not, can everybody do some squats? No, I'm still doing shots of the horrible lavender vodka. I'll do that in a second. Addy Monster says, hashtag eating ass makes you nasty, but thanks for doing it. Ass has vitamins, eat it. Rimshi says, sounds like you could get a kick from that book too. Yeah, I think so, probably. All right, anyway, I'm going to load up this next article. Nick, this is all yours. I'm going to go wash a shot glass.
Yep, this one, I absolutely love this one. I mean, you know, if you guys think that, you know, Twitter bickering is pathetic and pedantic, you should see what it's like in the Trump administration. Oh, wait. Yeah.
I remember reading this before. This is a hilarious article. I love this.
So Donald Trump, quote, likes to hurt people and is, quote, almost sociopathic, says ex-Trump executive. You know, the curious thing about this executive, though, well, we'll get to it. Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino's former president and CEO or COO on Wednesday said that the president can be almost sociopathic at times and likes to hurt people. During an appearance on CNN's Out Front, host Aaron Burnett and guest Jack O'Donnell discussed the president's latest war of words against his top aide Kellyanne Conway's husband, George Conway. The two separate, but yeah, it was the George Conway part that I love about this. Commenting on the president's attacks, O'Donnell explained that, quote, not only does Trump like to come back strong, but he comes back to try and tug at someone in some emotional peace. If he can cause more friction between the Conway family, I think that's what Trump is trying to do, and it's very typical of him. He did it to me. He's done it to others. This is a former Trump casino executive. O'Donnell then recounted a time when he hosted a show that the president attended with Roger Stone. Completely off subject in the middle, he takes off with a character assassination of my father, he said. Well, you know, that's what he does to try to get people to react emotionally, and it's a way of control for him. O'Donnell also explained that one of Trump's tactics was to plant fake stories about him people in order to hurt them. Fake news. Nobody gets to do fake news the way I do it. I know fake news. I am fake news. But yeah, yeah. So he tries to plant stories about an affair that wasn't happening because he knows that at that point, even if the story, even if it's not true, you have to go back to your family and explain what's going on. He said, adding that the president reveled in knowing that he orchestrated that painful conversation. He's like an 8chan troll. Isn't he great? The former Trump staffer went on to assert that his belief is there's, quote, a mean streak that runs through Donald Trump, which the president gets a great deal of satisfaction out of. While I'm not a diagnostician, yeah, for mental health disorders, there is a piece of this that is almost sociopathic, that he likes to hurt other people, he added. You don't have to be a professional to see that these traits come out in him. So I think it's part of him. Quite frankly, it's who he is. Conservative lawyer George Conway fueled an ongoing feud with the president this week by tweeting that Trump was a pathological narcissist. Trump responded to the tweet where he called Conway a stone-cold loser and a husband from hell, and someone very jealous of his wife's success.
It's more Bernie, it sounds like, than Trump.
I've been working on Trump. It's just kind of hard because my Bernie Sanders is actually quite good, I'm told. But it's only 1% of the time when it's not the other 90% when it's not good. Conway defended Trump's attack. This is what I fucking love. This is how you know you've got a fucking puppet working for you. Kellyanne Conway defended Trump's attacks on her husband on Wednesday.
I love your own fucking wife is defending the guy talking shit about you. Your own wife. That is sad.
Well, telling Politico that it's only natural Trump would respond to her husband's claims that he had a mental disorder. He left it alone for months out of respect for me, she said, referring to Trump and stifling a giggle using referencing the president and the words respect in the same sentence. But you shouldn't. But you think he shouldn't respond when somebody, a non-medical professional, accuses him of having a mental disorder. You think he should just take that sitting down? Well, yes, because he's got also probably undoubtedly a series of cardiac disorders that prevent him from standing for too long.
Now, I would not be shocked if at the end of Trump's presidency, if the Conways have a divorce.
Oh, yeah, well, no,
just imagine the fighting going on in their bedrooms.
Yeah, she's gonna get on that that MAGA Meet app. You know, they've got that new like singles app, dating app for Trump conservatives now because nobody else wants to fuck them.
I feel bad for that dude so much. So this horrible. It's not really a death shot. It's a nasty shot. Lavender vodka.
By the way, do you have that one like skull drink that I saw JonTron talk about in this one? Is that the same thing or is that different?
No. So this was a bottle of Crystal Skull vodka, but I drank it. It was awful, by the way. Crystal Skull vodka, it's fucking nasty. Don't buy it.
It's right down.
But it goes through diamonds. How can it be bad?
It's still bad. It's not even the diamonds could save this vodka, but I drank all of it anyway, and I refilled it with this lavender vodka that smells like potpourri, and it tastes like it too. So this is what I got paid to drink, and here we go.
Now, do I mean Tutter?
Oh.
You know, actually, Jeff, you and I, we should establish a Tutter account for Kellyanne Conway.
For what's her husband's name?
George Conway.
George Conway.
Oh, I was thinking we start one for Kellyanne so she can find herself a nice steer.
Is it Kellyanne
things
Conway?
You do.
Is it Kellyanne Conway the like press secretary or something?
Not press secretary, but she's a spokesperson for him. I know that much.
What the fuck does she look like?
Well, she looks about. I mean, I only suggest Tutter because Jable suggested it, but at the same time, I'm not sure that there is a lizard person dating app yet. Yeah, she looks like a fucking lizard.
Yeah.
Seriously, yeah. She's got like those iguana. She's got the iguana neck going on. She's got that cold, steely, I eat small insects.
Now, imagine if there was a culture on Conway's sex step. I think every man's penis would fall off immediately. Oh god, I think I killed Jeff.
No, we're gonna
look.
We're gonna name
be honest with you.
we're gonna name the porno between Kellyanne Conway and Ann Coulter Crust to Crust.
That's
Yeah, dude. No, dude. I know. Oh my god. All right. So anyway, fucking cocksucker.
Just the thought of it. Oh god.
Yeah.
I mean, here's it's like you know, it's one of these things. It's like, yeah, right, you know, you're in hell. Your options are to have sex with Kellyanne Conway or Sandra Bernhard for the rest of eternity.
Oh, fuck off. Come on. Andy Monster says, I got too drunk before the start of the stream. I'm sorry. Please forgive everyone. I have let you down. Do you ever think about how some bread is white and some bread is brown? That's so lifelike. Isn't that crazy? Brown people are real and like bread. Oh, my God. What the fuck?
That's a woke take right there.
Addy. Well, Nate, I think this is your first introduction to Addy Monster. This is tame. This is very tame.
Addy Monster.
So what is Addy Monster's hottest take that you've come across? I don't know about this guy.
Oh, Addy Monster is our resident hot fire take, beautiful trap, and she just spits fire. She spits fire like most people breathe.
Yep, slams down some whiskey and then just makes comments that make everyone think she's got a really good hookup for mescaline.
Mm-hmm. Yami like, says, Nick, my vagina would fall off. Kelly is the stuff of pure nightmares. I agree.
Ooh.
That's my Dave Rubin take on that. I agree.
Here's my Dave Rubin impression. The alt-right's really funny. They've got great memes.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Rubin anymore. I remember back in 2016 watching him and just seeing this weird gradual transition into being more and more of an apologist for Trump. Remember him saying, you know, he'd hold his feet to the fire, and I was like, okay, you know, great.
Yeah. Yep.
Sure enough, Trump gets elected.
Nothing.
Doesn't say anything. Hardly anything.
I was the biggest fucking Dave Rubin supporter. I loved him. I believed in him. I I really honestly did. And he's a sack of shit. Fuck Dave Rubin.
I personally still find it impressive that he was able to fit that entire studio of his into the kennel that Jordan Peterson gave him in the corner of the living room.
That's not fair. I am not a big fan of Jordan Peterson. I've lost friends.
I'm kind of retarded
because I dislike Jordan Peterson and they really like him. But I will give Jordan Peterson this. I think the worst thing to ever happen to Jordan Peterson is Dave Rubin.
No, that was the crux of the joke.
Why is that retarded?
Dave Rubin is a little yipping dog who Peterson was forced to buy a handbag to carry him around in during their tour.
Yeah, well, because I think Dave Rubin introduced Jordan Peterson to the producers, the producers who basically are making Peterson into a superstar. Like if you watch some of like Jordan Peterson's old lectures, you know, I have some disagreements with some of them, but for the most part, I find them very charming. I find them interesting and thoughtful.
They're thought-provoking. Yeah, they're thought-provoking.
I don't know about that. There is one of him before his fame in 2017, I believe it was, where he was on a Canadian talk show talking about atheism in Canada. Oh. And at one point he says, I don't think people like Richard Dawkins are oppressed, although maybe they should be.
I remember that one.
That is very concerning hearing from him.
I don't think anybody here is going to sit here and say that like Jordan Peterson doesn't say a lot of stupid shit.
Oh, yeah. No, we're on board.
I think, this is more one of those, like, you can't, like, genuinely call the guy dumb. He's very intelligent.
No, I don't think he's dumb. It depends on the topic.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Yeah, well, I mean, I remember listening to a number of his older lectures as well, and even sitting there, like, listening to shit that I fundamentally disagreed with, that I thought, like, was, like, a crock of, you know, Catholic dominionist horse shit, or like, you know, why the fuck are you comparing the story of Abraham to the Jiminy Cricket's prequel movie or whatever? Mm-hmm. You know, yeah, that's dumb shit, but a lot of it was, you know, a lot of it's like thought-provoking, compelling. Like it's kind of like Hitchens used to say, like, you know, if you look, you can find little gems even in the dumbest of speech that might be worth at least pondering on. And a lot of his takes, like, and this is a Catholic who can talk openly about like Nietzschean philosophy from a way that isn't just this like edgy black pill bullshit. Like, no, life is meaningless. It's like, thank you for reading the first line in a Camus book, but that's his thing. I mean, he'd offer insights about like Nietzsche's philosophy about time being a flat disc, and he was one of the first people to like, I heard really put it well, saying things like, his point wasn't that you're doomed to repeat it over and over again. His point was that if you're doomed to repeat it over and over again, try to live a life that you'd be comfortable doing that with. I'm like, hey, well, there you go. Well done, Mr. Peterson. Oh, shit. Now I got to clean my room.
I will say to Peterson's defense, I think that people on the left are a bit too harsh on him and try to associate him with the alt-right when he's definitely not alt-right.
They associate with him as fan base. He's got a cultish fan base of dejected young men who I honestly would imagine many of them probably did grow up without fathers. So when they get this basic bitch dad advice, like, build good habits, surround yourself with good people, learn to value what's important. Like, that's shit you should learn growing up. And so if a bunch of young men who never got that growing up, naturally they're going to gravitate towards and make a millionaire out of this guy.
So our friend Maeve just really blew my mind. She says, stop believing in people, Jeff. It's always a mistake. And never was this ever more readily apparent than tonight, because we've got Milo, Dave Rubin, and Jordan Peterson, all three people that I really believed in. And ultimately I was like, oh...
Kill your heroes.
I fucking guess, dude. Holy shit.
Well, speaking of killing celebrities or quasi-celebrities, this next article is all for you, Jeff.
Yeah, let's kill this one.
Oh boy. No, I mean, on second thought, I think Ann Coulter and Conway are beautiful women compared to this piece of shit right here. Dear Lord.
A mom on popular YouTube show accused of pepper spraying her kids when they flubbed their lines. Okay, let's get this fucking. Look at this sexy piece of ass right here.
And I like how she's looking down, like she knows she's fucked. I hope she just rots in prison.
Well, actually, no, because she's got a camera on her, she thinks she needs to wait for that 10 seconds of silence to get the noise floor ready. So she's just waiting.
The Fantastic Adventures YouTube channel has racked up more than 250 million views with its adorable cast of 7 adopted children, silly topics, and charmingly lo-fi visual effects. Behind the scenes, though, the children told a different story. A welfare check last week found the home was a den of abuse in which their mother would withhold food and water for days at a time, pepper spray them, force them to take ice baths, and lock them in a barren closet, according to a statement of probable cause in Maricopa, Arizona. A lot of bad shit happens in Maricopa, Arizona, by the way. If you live in Maricopa, Arizona, move! They stated they are disciplined in the manners above. They do not recall their lines and do not participate in the videos as they are directed to. They further stated this is one of the reasons their mom took them out of school so they can keep filming their series, and they mentioned they have not been in school for years. Police on Friday arrested their mother, Machelle Hobson, 48, on 2 counts of molestation of a child, 7 counts of child abuse, 5 counts of child neglect, and 5 counts of unlawful imprisonment. Kidnapping! The Pinal County Sheriff's Office mistakenly listed her last name as Hackney, but later provided her correct surname. Her adult sons were also arrested. They face 7 charges.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Now, here's the thing.
I'm kind of retarded.
We really don't need to go through the whole thing, but we'll read some select chunks of this.
Snippets.
During the welfare check, one child was found in an unlocked closet which has a locking mechanism wearing only a pull-up diaper, the statement said, and that the 6 children appeared to be malnourished. It said they had pale complexions, dark rings under their eyes, were underweight, and they said they were thirsty and hungry. According to the probable cause statement, one of the children drank 3 16-ounce bottles of water within 20 minutes and said he'd been pepper sprayed numerous times as punishment by his mother.
This is what the film Children Under the Stairs would have been like if it was made in the age of social media.
So one of the things I think is actually kind of here we go. The child also said his mother would pinch the tip of his penis with her fingernails until it would bleed. Another child said she had been pepper sprayed on her vagina and recalled being in pain for 4 to 5 days. So, let's summarize this whole thing real quick. So you got this skank, this nasty, fucked up skank, who adopts 7 fucking kids and decides she's going to be the ringleader of a 3-ring circus of a bunch of adopted kids and make them do all these fancy little fucking skits so she can monetize it on YouTube. Then, when they don't do the things right, she actually tortures these fucking kids. Thankfully, finally, somebody said something. In fact, it was actually her, if I'm not mistaken, it was her biological daughter heard from one of the kids what had happened and then reported it to the fucking cops. Thankfully, this fucking bitch is actually in jail now. I don't know if she's on bail or not.
No. I doubt it.
But I kind of hope they draw and quarter her in public view so I can throw fucking vegetables at this woman as she dies. Like, this is awful.
You know what happens to like anybody who like violently or sexually offends kids in men's prisons, right? Imagine that surrounded by a bunch of like, convict women who probably want nothing more than to see their kids, and then they got that bitch on their block. I'm just going to say, in retrospect, before she dies, she'll probably remember this as the worst welfare check she was ever not expecting.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not terribly surprised this would eventually happen down the road, because there is so much money to be made in the kids category of YouTube. I mean, we already know about the whole Elsa Gate situation. These were YouTube channels that do nothing but make 10-minute little weak sketches of them running around in an Elsa or Spider-Man costume, and they get millions and millions of views. Yeah. Now, I know that her YouTube channel, I think, had like 200 million views on it, so she was making bank off of these kids. This is the YouTube slave trade for children basically going on here. So it doesn't shock me at all that she would exploit these kids to profit for herself.
Right now, Daddy of Five's probably like, oh, thank God, I ain't
another prime example of that too.
Yeah. Oh, there was so there's Daddy of Five. There's this one. There was one in the middle too.
Oh, 7. Was it 7 magnificent kids?
7 awesome kids.
7
something
awesome
like
kids.
that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. No, we are seeing the rise of effectively child trafficking for YouTube views. People who understand how to bank against the fucking algorithm and do this kind of shit. Like in the 90s, you had some crack-whore fucking mother making their little kid like stand out on the street and, work for some drug dealer for extra cash so she could get some more crack. Now, it's some fucking nasty fucking cunt like this fucking skag, literally torturing her fucking kids for
that's a proper lot lizard.
Potentially, she made hundreds of thousands of dollars off this fucking channel.
Well, the thing is, too, is her two oldest sons were arrested as well. Both, at least one, but I believe both have said like they were aware of the abuse going on. They just weren't sure if they should report it. Like, are you really? You weren't sure? You weren't sure
when
when
their dicks pinched, they're crapping their pants, they're being starved,
stuffed in closets and pepper sprayed.
If I should go to the cops just yet. We'll wait.
It's a tough love kind of thing. That's all. Like, my parents told me back in the day they used to get beaten with belts. I guess they just didn't have pepper spray and fingernails then.
And the thing about it, though, is, when you have kids on a TV show or in a movie, there are so many checks and balances in place to prevent things like this from happening. It can happen sometimes, but it's less likely to happen when you have that protection in place. When you are in the privacy of your own home with your own kids, there's nobody to supervise what's going on. So it's easy to get away with this for a long time, unless, thankfully, this kid told the daughter, and now they're safe.
We need to unionize child YouTube actors.
Except for Quinn. She doesn't get to be part of that because she's already turning into a goddamn diva.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Anyway, yeah, she's a monster, and I hope she burns to death.
Yeah, it'll be that. I mean, like maybe the last season of Orange and the New Black can have some epically gruesome torture murder scene based on what I can only hope happens to this terrible monstrous lot lizard.
Real quick, Jable says Addy Monster is the sex appeal of the pre-show. You're not wrong. Addy Monster says, Nate, my hottest take is the time I took your mom to the Lemon Shandy social, and we slapped our adult parts together until she forgot her own name and paid for the whole dinner.
Oh, dear.
I mean,
welcome to the world of an Addy Monster.
That's Addy for you. Jable says... Table says, I hope you will still believe in me, Jeff. I do believe in you. It's all good. And Thomas St. Clair says, can we shoot her into the sun? Yeah, no, let's shoot the Fantastic Adventures mom straight into the goddamn sun, man. I'm all right with that. And here's
picture into a volcano.
Here's the thing, like in my house and among some of my friends, the notion of capital punishment has come up quite a bit, and it's a heavy topic. It's a topic that a lot of people are really not comfortable discussing. But there are certain instances when there is verifiable proof that something actually happened that really does kind of make me wish there were public executions. And I'm not comfortable with being happy about that, but I kind of do feel that way. I do feel that way. And sometimes I don't know how to deal with it. And it's uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable situation for me. I don't know how to rectify it.
Let me offer you this, because I actually had the same problem when I was studying criminal justice back in the day.
Sure, please.
The urge for things like public executions, watching an awful piece of shit like this get drawn and quartered, the natural sense of satisfaction that you'd feel at least knowing it happened.
Mm-hmm.
That is rooted in revenge. Revenge is a human instinct, and the dividing line that we need to really clarify if we're ever going to really come to an honest understanding of capital punishment in this country is understanding how to delineate between instincts for revenge and genuine senses of civic justice. Because justice would demand, I would say, it would be more just to have her spend the better part, if not the entirety of her life, in a prison surrounded by people who know very well what she did, constantly having to look over her shoulder until she dies perhaps of a cardiac arrest or a torture murder inside prison, whereas putting her to death would simply be us getting her out of the way so that we can say it's over and done with.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
Compartmentalize, just compartmentalize.
Yeah. All right.
I suppose whatever method would disenfranchise other people from carrying out similar crimes in the future, that method would be preferable. Because, I mean, honestly, just getting a quick death would be great if you committed a crime like this. But if you have to spend the rest of your life behind bars, I mean, nobody wants to do that. That isn't fun.
Yeah. Also, who knows? Maybe some flicker of humanity and conscience will actually, just turn on like a dying light bulb in the back of her shitty little brain, and she'll actually hopefully get to spend years genuinely reflecting on what an awful person she is, to the point where the guards have to get to keep her from killing herself, and she doesn't even get that way out.
What about if they have to spend life in prison? Because life in prison, that's a shitty situation that nobody really wants to have to deal with. That could be a really just punishment, but is that enough of a just punishment for somebody who does something like, rapes kids or something like that? I think we should remove their nose and all of the protective apparatus from their nasal capacity, so when they breathe, it literally hurts. And then they can spend life in prison. I'm okay with that. That would make me perfectly happy.
Now, I have an interesting question for you both.
Yes.
Let's say, hypothetically, in the future, if you're a vicious criminal, you're a murderer, a rapist, or anything like that, what if we find a way to simply go into your brain and rewire it so that you no longer feel the urges to commit crimes like that in the future? Would you feel that after doing that, we could simply let them go free because they no longer have those tendencies?
Well, I know, because one of the things that I think is one of the most important parts of being a human being is to thine own self be true, which is, if it is in your nature to be this barbaric, nasty ass human being, I don't think anybody deserves to be deprived of that. I think if that is where you ultimately end up, that could be a byproduct of a lot of things. Maybe it's a byproduct of your situation. Maybe it's a byproduct of your upbringing. But also maybe it's a byproduct of just who you are genetically as a human being. But all of these things aside are such amazingly complicated compounding factors that I don't think that we can dumb humanity and every person down to something that's going to be easy and effectively, what's the term when you fucking drill a spike into their head? Lobotomize.
Yeah, lobotomy.
I don't think effectively we can lobotomize somebody and just let them go off, because you've effectively killed that person.
Well, I'm saying they have everything about their personality before then still intact, except for those urges to commit criminal behavior.
At that point, though, here's the other side, though, too. The other concept of justice also dictates. Yeah, well, it also the question is still there. Are they actually paying for what they've done? I mean,
well,
like,
you said it a moment ago that you think that revenge is a bad attitude to have. So this would be essentially rehabilitating them. They no longer have those tendencies, and the problem is solved. Well, so what's the point of trying to make them suffer?
We get down to the philosophical question of does the actions of a person, does it carry along with the personality, or does it carry along with the body? And that is,
I would argue the personality. I would argue the personality.
Well, there's also...
think about it. I mean, like there was a case a while ago of a man who wanted to molest children, and they discovered later on that it was due to a brain tumor causing him to want to fuck children. Right. And when they got rid of that tumor, those urges went away. So, why punish this guy who was simply suffering from a mental condition?
Sure.
If we can get rid of that condition in this woman,
that's what I'm saying. It's a philosophical question. Is like we're asking basically, is science and the concept of responsibility versus societal's sense of punishment, right?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, well, justice itself is, and it's one of those terms I wish we could use it without like invoking notions from stupid shit, but it's a social construct.
Right.
Justice is an artifice that we create to process this, and that's the thing, though. But I mean, so let's say you take that guy who, let's say he was like diddling kids for years, right? Mm-hmm. And they discovered the impulses came from a tumor in the brain, and they removed the tumor from the brain, and so the impulses go away. The acts still took place. The acts themselves, the victimizations, were still a crime which took place. The factors which went into motivating him to do such are themselves factors to be considered in perhaps like the degree of the crime that he's being charged and convicted of, or perhaps the punishment as it comes down. But the fact still remains is that the acts were carried out, and that absent actual genuine remuneration on a societal level, retribution of some kind, not necessarily revenge, but societal retribution, punishing him for the acts which he did, context taken into account, but still fundamentally accepting the fact that like the actus reus, which is the guilty act,
right?
The mens rea, which was the guilty mind might not be fully there, but it was at the time. So you've got a mens rea that you can prove existed at the time, and you can biologically prove why it happened. You have the actus reus. No, you have the actus reus, which is the act, and then you have the corpus delicti, which is the body itself of the crime. The three elements of the crime still remain. Therefore, societal retribution via punishment by way of imprisonment and the like is
so how do you differentiate revenge, retribution? How do you differentiate those two concepts?
Well, it's like, it's the difference. I mean, capital punishment. We could, like, let's take it for granted and say that on a societal level, it's morally and ethically just, and there's no question, right?
Well, isn't that just appeal to the majority, though?
So, no. I mean, I'm saying
it can be. It can be.
Yeah, let's take it for granted in this, though. Like, in this, it's a hypothetical situation in which, like, on an objective level, state-sanctioned capital punishment is an ethical and morally acceptable thing. Okay, the urge of, let's say, the father of a victim to personally carry out and inflict the pain and bring about the death of the offender, that is rooted in this sense of this personal sense within the victim or the victim's family or the extended, victims there. That personal sense of theirs that they want personal retribution against the offender themselves directly, that is motivated by personal revenge. That is a personal desire to inflict suffering and death upon somebody who inflicted suffering upon oneself or their family. When it comes to a society, it's the same thing like when we imprison someone. If that same father of, let's say, a murder rape victim went and kidnapped and abducted the guy and held him as a prisoner in his basement, he's still imprisoned, he's still being fed all that. That's still an act of revenge. When society does it through a system, through a justice system, that is the official adjudication of the recognition of a crime that has been committed, a crime which, according to statute, is a violation of our civic codes, of our criminal codes. That's what they're being punished for. They're not being punished for the victimization itself. The horrendous nature of the crime itself can be taken into account.
It's effectively a crime against the state.
Exactly.
But what is the point of carrying out that punishment if we already know they've been rehabilitated by the surgery in the brain?
Well,
what does it do aside from make them suffer?
Well, let's think about this in a different type of context then. And I honestly, when I say this, I don't really have any concrete solutions to this type of thing. But when it comes to trying to build a cohesive society, ultimately things are going to start falling through the cracks. And when it comes to crime and punishment, you have to think about the ways in which things are going to build the structure of society that you want to build. A society that's built upon the notions of justice has to appear in some ways unbiased, in theory, but not actually in practice. Instead, what we habitually see over and over again, especially in notions of revolution, even in American Revolution, notions of individualized philosophy and morality mean nothing. Mean absolutely nothing. I mean, Revolutionary Wars. Was every single person who ever died in a Revolutionary War somebody who was an ideological monster that was very much warranted to be murdered and massacred on a fucking battlefield? No. Instead, these actions are taken out in the overall concept of moral good, an overall concept of for the best sake of that society to advance into its own ideological constant. So because of that, you have to kind of understand what kind of society you want to be. And this is where the whole death penalty debate really comes down.
But Jeff, you mentioned, for an example, the Revolutionary War. Keep in mind, back then, it was still widely accepted for us to enslave black people.
Sure.
But we've totally gotten rid of that ideology from our culture. So if we can get rid of that, why not get rid of that murder, crime, and punishment mentality as well?
Oh, no. See, and this is the thing. I'm not disagreeing with you as a potential philosophical construct. I'm kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit to say why, philosophically speaking, from a nation-building perspective, people might rail against that. And why I might have an emotional reaction against it, whether or not it's logically sound or not. Logically speaking, in my mind, I hold all human life sacred, even that of murderers and god-awful perpetrators of the worst crime. I think all human life is valuable. So if we could find a way to correct that and they can still be a net benefit to society and humanity as a whole, I think that's a good idea. But I have to recognize my own bias. I have to recognize my own dark impulses and urges. I hear the idea of a kitty diddler, I want to watch him burn to death. I want to. Well,
yeah. I mean, I don't think that this attitude of spite, revenge would be easy to eliminate. But I think that over time, through cultural transition, like we've seen before over the past hundreds of years, this attitude could also be washed away as well.
It's also, I think another important part though is also about uniformity, right?
Sure.
If we establish, because without the rule of law, and I know the ANCAPs and libertarians out there will probably shit a brick over this, but without the rule of law itself is the fundamental building block of a liberal civic democracy. It is, because it is meant to be applied uniformly to all people. And that when we define an act as a crime, like murder, rape, robbery, etc., once we've defined that as being a crime and we have defined what we, I guess you could say, collectively, legislatively, judicially, have come to agree upon as fair and fitting punishment for violating that rule. And it's not even necessarily the act, it's the violation of the rule that is the act. If we cannot uphold that sort of standard, then the uniformity to it and the overall justness and validity of the rule of law goes out the window, which is also a big reason that as we continue refining the thing, because that's what we're constantly doing is refining, but as we go through it, you'll hear about things like jury nullification, that's a hot topic because a lot of times you hear about it and you're like, hey, that's a really good thing. Guy got popped for weed, right?
Mhm.
And the jury nullified the verdict. So he went free by jury nullification. But at the same time, if you're putting it in the hands, then you're basically saying that the rule of law is strictly up to ad hoc democratic rule.
Well, I'm not advocating for ad hoc democratic rule. I'm saying that I ultimately feel that the point of prison should be to rehabilitate people. I think that's a very utilitarian way of going about it. I think that just trying to go into a prison for the sake of again, revenge, that's, again, just emotional, animalistic response. So if there's a way to put people through the prison system and rehabilitate them, that should be the end goal. And if we can find an easier way around that, just by rewiring the parts of your brain which are causing you to behave in a criminal way, then that would be even more ideal.
Well, I mean, before we move on real quick, I do want to say I am a prison abolitionist. I absolutely am. I don't speak on it very often, but I think the entire notion of our prison system is completely fucked. Completely fucked.
Oh yeah.
But you know, I do have reservations that I myself don't really have answers for, based upon what we're talking about. But I find it utterly fascinating, and it's something that I probably need to think about a lot more in the future.
Well,
it's like that fucking veganism debate that you and I had, Nate. It's like the time we were talking about veganism. Now you're making me think. Well, do you know how uncomfortable I am when I think?
Well, I think this is fun. I think it's fun making these streams into like a debate show. I think it's fun for the audience. I hope they're enjoying this.
No, I think we are. Yeah.
Yeah, we got the smart shit posters. But I'll say this to you two guys now. Now, if never before, at least the two of you understand why it was I was so keen to go to law school. This is what the study of law really is. It's batting these questions back and forth when, even in your own mind, because like when you say justice could be framed as just a societal form of revenge, therefore the notion of revenge versus justice doesn't really apply. It's not an invalid argument. It needs to be reconciled with all of the other valid arguments and facts, and that's why law is continually changing, and I love it for that. And I wish I could.
Now, you may have noticed at the beginning of this conversation about the YouTube kids woman that I said, fuck her, put him in jail forever. I was saying that under the assumption that we currently have no way of rehabilitating her. I think that currently people like her that are psychopathic like this, we cannot solve that problem. But hypothetically, in the future, if we do find ways to rehabilitate her in whatever way that would be, then I would say we should take that strategy.
I think that she should personally be turned into my own home toilet so I can be more green and recycle my turds into her
compost.
Mouth. I'm just being an idiot. Ignore me. Addy Monster says, if you hurt people who cannot defend themselves, you should be made to know how that feels. That is probably the clearest thought I am capable of right now. I bet sober Addy would agree with me. Dejens Lin Sang says, I'm liking how philosophical this episode is. Keep it up. Well, we fucking went pretty deep, actually. Jable says, brains are weird.
That's what I stay sober.
Brains are weird. Attraction is not your fault. It's based more on past experiences. Actions are where the problems happen. I agree. I agree with that. I do. You can't really control like the baseline things that urge you to whatever. All you can do is control how you respond to them. There's plenty of times I almost killed somebody, and well, you know, I didn't, and that's why I'm not in jail. Yami says, since I'm too stupid for philosophy, I'll say, Jeff, I posted my hot pot recipe in the Discord. Beats the whisper I sent long ago. I will be making hot pot this week. Meowski says, being a survivor of abuse, it's so hard to refrain from letting your emotions dictate your reaction to other cases of abuse. There's no rewinding the poor person who is abused besides therapy. It's a fucked situation. I would agree. But now
that's a whole different topic with restorative justice.
Oh my god. You know what we should do? We should do an episode at some point, Nick, just on like abuse and surviving abuse. We should do that at some point.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you both. How do you feel about spanking?
I won't do it. No, I don't spank my kid.
Oh, your kid. I was gonna say.
No, I don't mean the fun kind of spanking. I mean the other kind of spanking.
No, it's so much easier and more legal to just emotionally scar them. So
Yeah.
no, I troll. I mean, like, what it's. I mean, I'll say like, I guess maybe for some parents and some kids, I got hit when I was a kid a little bit. Nothing abusive, just like corrective. And I guess there's times and places for it. As a parent myself, I've actually found just really digging into whatever the problem was, and then talking through it to get them to see they're wrong. And then you give them a mild pun. You give them a run of the mill punishment, like, all right, no fucking, like, no TV, no computer, no phone, for a week, and I'm giving you extra homework, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It goes a lot further when you can get a kid to understand what they did was wrong, rather than just teaching them that if you do this thing I don't like, you get punished in this way you don't like. Goes a lot further.
Because that teaches them more just to avoid getting pain inflicted upon them. It teaches them to avoid getting hurt. And when they're a teenager, when they get stronger than you eventually, then really you can no longer use those kinds of punishment anymore, and then you're kind of screwed.
Right.
Yeah. Also, kids are so spoiled these days. If you just take things away from them, you might as well be beating the shit out of them.
My parenting technique is very much the same as it has been since my kid was an infant. I speak to my kid like an adult. I reason with my kid like an adult. And even though it might take 10 times longer for me to reason things out with my kid than to just smack my kid, I still fucking do it. Because I think it's probably going to make a smarter kid. That's just my point of view.
Fucking Addy monster. My dad tried to beat the gay out of me. Joke's on him. I got AIDS. Just kidding. I don't have AIDS.
Not yet. Not until I get a hold of you. Anyway,
Well, the reason...
Go ahead. No, please. Go ahead. Go ahead.
One more thing. It's just the reason why I asked is because I've just seen many different studies that talk about that. Spanking can cause long-term mental damage to a child's brain. So... I care about the well-being of children, and if this kind of punishment is going to damage them emotionally, physically, I think we should try to find less violent methodologies of teaching them how to behave properly.
Well, I'll put it this way. I think it's a degree of severity. I got spanked a few times. I got hit once, and I was a teenager, and it didn't go the way he thought it was gonna go. But I mean, like the spanking was more of like a shock to the system sort of thing. Do I think I really learned anything from it? No, not really. I think there was probably a much better way.
Yeah, my dad would kind of bat me upside the head, not like hard, just like to let me know he was doing it when I do something that was genuinely stupid. And I'll actually say, because when you get that thwap, you feel stupid, and you're like, oh. That really was stupid.
Yeah, but that's not inflicting violence. That's a physical representation of like dumb,
dumbass,
dumb. All right, so now for something completely different. So we decided we were going to do the Florida Man Challenge.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with Nick. The Florida Man Challenge is you have to Google Florida Man and your birthday. Yours is a video.
Yep, mine. I found a video for this one.
An argument over politics on Facebook ended up with one man from Tampa, Florida, being shot in the buttocks. Brian Sebring and Alex Stevens are.
Wait, so which one? Which
these two?
I know which one shot who?
Handsome young men right here.
The big guy over there, shot our very charming Texaco attendant right here. In the ass.
Okay.
Over a political argument on Facebook, where
reportedly became involved in an online battle over politics, according to WFLA. But when Stevens allegedly sent several explicit messages, Sebring went to Stevens' home to confront him, and brought with him an AR-15 and a Glock semi-automatic pistol, according to the Tampa Bay Times. WFLA says when Sebring arrived, he waited near his car for Stevens to come out, and after he did, he fired 2 shots, hitting Stevens in the thigh and buttocks.
So, you got pissed off at your buddy's Facebook political post, and so you shot the motherfucker in the ass.
They got into a back and forth, and then Stevens sent a series of explicit messages. Now, here's the real kicker: which one of them do you think is the magatard?
Oh, I don't know.
That's a really tough one. So you think one's a Clinton supporter?
Well, here's the thing. No, I mean, I read into it a little more too. So you'd think the dude shows up at dude's house with an AR-15. It's probably pro-Second Amendment Florida Republican. Nope. Our Mr. Bathroom Attendant here. Yeah, he's our conservative victim. This is the kind of thing I'm pretty sure Mark Collette. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mark Collette and Paul Joseph Watson will be streaming about the attempted murder of a MAGA supporting patriot at the hands of an obese Democrat. But yeah, no, it's a bit of a change of pace here. Yeah, so
you know what they should have done? They should have challenged her to a UFC match, and then when they go there to the match, one of them doesn't show up. That's
and the other,
they should have
and the other one flies to the wrong city.
Oh no.
Well, I mean,
no.
Well, I mean, in fairness, the guy who looks like he's probably been doing some hard drugs a little more than he ought to was legitimately scared of getting shot, but only after the shooting began.
All right. So mine is when I looked up mine was oh shit. Oh fucking hell. My man impersonates police officer, pulls over real officer. Miami-Dade. A Florida man is in jail Friday night after he allegedly impersonated a police officer and ended up pulling over a Miami-Dade police officer. Marcos Pacheco Bustamante was driving a dark green 2000 Crown Victoria. He placed a blue police siren on his roof and signaled for a vehicle in front of him to pull over. Driver of the vehicle was Miami-Dade police officer Alton Martin, who, according to the arrest affidavit, was in full uniform in an unmarked vehicle. Oh, man. He gets out of his vehicle. He's in full uniform, so now he approaches the Crown Vic and realizes this guy, there's something wrong. Doesn't look like a cop. Immediately takes this gentleman into custody. Bravo, sir. So this is the one that you sent us, Nate.
No, it was a different. Oh yeah, this one. Correct. This is the one I sent you.
Yeah.
Over Nuggies.
Do you want to read this? Florida man allegedly attacks pregnant sister during fight over chicken nuggets. Yeah, seems legit. A Florida man was collared for attacking his pregnant sister after she complained he ate her chicken nuggets. Kareem Gordon, 28, allegedly pounced his 25-year-old sister, who was 4 months pregnant, after he spotted her eating the fast food treat in their mother's Orlando home on Sunday. "I will punch you down!" Gordon barked at the woman before grabbing her neck and tossing her into the nightstand. No injuries were reported, except to the nuggies. Gordon, who WESH-TV reported has a prior arrest for domestic violence against his wife, was charged with aggravated battery, taken to Orange County Jail, but it was unclear if he had since been released or given.
Does it mention what kind they were?
No.
What kind of sauce did they have too?
I mean, if they're Wendy's, I can get it, but if they're like, I don't know, McDonald's or BK, then what's the point, man?
Yeah. Wendy's nuggies are pretty good. Some KFC, maybe some Popeyes nuggies. I'm into it. But yeah, no, you don't want to raise some beef over some fucking McDonald's or BK shit.
You don't want to raise any beef over chicken nugget. Oh God, kill me. That's right, Jeff. You opened that door. I just walked through it. I mean, tendies, proper tendies, I could understand, but these are nuggets.
All right, we're already late, so let's go into our cringe of the week. You got this.
I love this story.
You got this one, Nick.
Yeah, you guys might have heard of this already, but yeah, why is Devin Nunes really suing Twitter over parody accounts? He's suing Twitter for $250 million. Long and short, so California Republican Rep Devin Nunes is suing Twitter and 3 of its users for defamation. The suit filed March 18th demands $250,350,000 in damages, $350,000 in punitive, and $250 million in compensatory. What set it all off was ultimately some trolly Twitter accounts, namely at Devin Nunes Mom, and make sure you follow that account. And Devin Nunes Cow, at Devin Cow. The mom account has been suspended, but the Devin Cow continues to grow. It boasts close to 600,000 followers, up from a mere 1,204 as noted in the complaint. So when he filed this lawsuit trying to sue this parody Twitter account that is Devin Nunes' Cow, Yeah, he Streisand effect that shit from 1,200 followers to over 500,000.
Yeah, not a good look. Whenever I try to sue the internet, it's not going to go in your favor. Which reminds me, have you heard about Onision trying to sue Mr. Epsilon for making videos about him?
I mean, Onision, I know you're a big fan of the show, big fan. But listen, Onion-san, if you're watching, if you don't want Dan Repsion there to continue making videos out of what an utter lolcow you are, you just have to stop being yourself, at least in public. Do what the rest of the YouTubers do. Put a fake face on. Act like a completely different person, and then let people discover at VidCon what a total phony you really are. But
by the way, Nate, are you coming to VidCon this year or what?
I'm not sure. From what I've seen from VidCon, I feel like I'm not really welcome there. I mean, this is the same people that are now trying to get more security because some people sat in the front row and just sat there quietly recording. And that's very dangerous behavior I'm hearing now. They've given Steve Shives $2,000, I guess, because
I'm applying too.
I mean, they got to pay him for blocking, I guess, I don't know, like half the planet now, right?
Yeah.
It's worth $2,000.
It's a good time to just hang out and goof off with a bunch of YouTubers. I mean, I made Jack's Films extremely uncomfortable last VidCon. It was totally worth it.
What'd you do to him?
Oh my God! I never told you about this. Okay,
no.
So last VidCon, it was the last night, and me and Nick and a couple of other people were kind of late getting down there because we had to do the show. And so we're zooming down to this bar, and we get to this bar, and the outside of it has this fence around it, and all these people are hanging out. But while we're zooming down, my wife texts me, and she's like, "Hey, everybody's down here. You got to get down here. By the way, Jack's Films is here." And so I'm like, "Jack's Films?" So I text her, I'm like, "You don't get to go on a pleasure yacht with Jack's Films. Fuck you, wife," as a joke. But then we pull up, and I start walking up, and I see Jack's Films, like, the closest to me behind the gate. But my wife's over there. So I walk up to the edge of the gate, and I'm like, "Hey, Memory! What's this bullshit about you running off with some famous YouTuber, huh? You trying to ruin me? Some famous YouTuber? What's his name? Jack's Films? Whoever the fuck that asshole is? You're gonna run off on his pleasure fucking yacht with this piece of shit? You're not leaving me! You're staying with me!" And she's turning bright fucking red. And Jack's Films is literally 2 feet away from me going like...
Did you get that on video?
No. I didn't.
Man,
but then I turned and I looked at him like, "Oh, sorry, man. I didn't mean to make a scene. What's your name?" "My name's Jeff." And he's like, "I'm Jack." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I know, dude." And I winked at him and went in.
Yeah, that was actually the same bar. So like the first VidCon 2017 hung out with like Lacey, Chris, all them. Lacey, for my first IRL interaction with her was I walked about 1.5 miles to get to this Airbnb early in the morning. I show up and I've got rosacea, so when I'm under heavy sun especially, like my face turns fucking fire engine red. So I show up and Lacey's like, "Oh my God, you look so sunburned." She answers the door, wasn't expecting. Huge, very generous, very soft hug.
She has big boobies.
She's got the big boobies. But yeah, and then she's like, "Oh my God, you look so sunburned. You look so hot. Do you need like a glass of water?" I'm like, "Oh, no, don't worry. It's a skin condition." And she gets a bit embarrassed by that. And so she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Do you want a mimosa?" I'm like, "Yes, please. It's 10 a.m. And so that was the first one. Yeah, but at that same bar, while Jeff was fucking with Jack's Films, I walk in. I'm with Anna Hot of Hearts. Lacey sees me, runs up, big hug. She's like, What are we drinking?" I'm like, "I was going to get a Jameson." She's like, "Then we're drinking Jameson." And yeah, we sat at that bar, just the two of us, for probably a solid half hour, 45 minutes, just like throwing back shots. And, she's like, "Oh, I've got it. Don't worry." And she just keeps them coming because she shoots her whiskey. And I sip mine. So I'm like, all right, I guess I got it. I guess I got. Oh, she definitely. Oh, no, she Lacey mopped the fucking floor with me.
Yeah, Lacey can put it away, dude. Oh my God.
And it was funny because she was getting like, and Lacey's like a really, really warm, really affectionate person. So it's like she's chilling. As memory serves, she's like after about 3 or 4 shots, I think she kicks her shoes off and she just kind of like kicks her feet up on my lap and just stretches back. She's like, "Okay, let's have another one. Let's have it." I get told by Anahata Hearts afterwards, who went out to VidCon with me. She's like, yeah, it was kind of funny because I could tell Chris really doesn't drink that much, and he didn't really like that. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, so you guys go to the bar, and then I notice hovering, but then several shots later, hovering intensifies. I'm like, oh, I do have a reputation, don't I?
Yes,
I'm
you
sorry,
do,
Chris.
Yes, you do.
So
you can't blame him.
No, I don't blame him
You
at
have
all.
a bad reputation. You have a bad reputation, and it's well deserved.
Wonderful reputation, depending on who you ask. But
yes, I'm aware of the condom story.
Yes. See, that's the whole thing, Nate. You gotta come to VidCon with us. We'll have a lot of fun. It'll be great.
We'll have a condom party.
We will.
I just hope that in my hotel room nobody has like a camera recording me all night.
Oh,
well, if
my
you do,
God.
you just got
if you do,
you just copyright claim them. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Privacy complaint. Take care of that shit immediately.
Yeah. Pornhub.
We don't mention she who must not be named about that whole fucking thing.
Oh, that thing.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah. Forgot that thing.
Miss thing. Anyway, so all that aside, we're gonna go offline and we're gonna talk about all the sketchy underbelly things of the YouTube world, and you guys aren't invited. So, Nate, what's going on with you lately? Anything you want to shout out or talk about before we say goodnight?
Well, this is only a shout out, but when are we gonna cover the pipe bomb story? Is that for a different time?
You know, we'll just summarize it real quick. So with the recent thing in. Well, I had it on the list, yeah.
Oh, right.
It was going to be the fourth news item, but we don't even need to go through the article. I just actually wanted to throw that in there to remind people that after the New Zealand attack, after Charlottesville, all these isolated incidents, it's important to remember that this kind of like batshit partisan terrorism shit, it's not limited. And that if you remember, there was some crazy dipshit with a van, lived in a van covered in Trump stickers, who sent pipe bombs to people like Hillary Clinton and I believe John Podesta. Yeah. Well, he pleaded guilty in court. He pleaded guilty, and he said he didn't necessarily even believe that the bombs could explode, but he knew that they could. But yeah, he entered a guilty plea after initially pleading not guilty. His average trial was set to begin in the summer, so. Who knows how long the dumb motherfucker's gonna end up in prison? But once again, justice is served.
I missed that when I was trying to click through. I had a lot of whiskey tonight. I apologize.
Because I remember like that was like the boomer art van basically. It had all the cursed boomer art you see on Facebook and Twitter just plastered all over the windows. I don't know how you could drive that thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, I just kind of lived in it, you know. But yeah, so that was our final news item. We have been your YouTube saints, joined us by our good friend Nate Talks to You. And if you're still here and you're looking for something else to watch, well, there's always SideQuest. I mean, I heard it's all right.
SideQuest has been on for 10 minutes already. You need to click over, go watch SideQuest right fucking now. Otherwise,
tell them we sent you.
Tell them if you go and hit SideQuest right now, make sure you spam in the chat the YouTube saints set us. Also, we'll see you Wednesday on the fucking Twitch channel, and then once a week, right back here at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've been your YouTube saints. Good night. Go fuck yourself. Go sub to Nate Talks to You. Of course, you're already subbed to him, but like whatever, it's fine. Yeah. Good night. Yeah, that's fine.
The internet
just shut up.
Is.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's cool. Yeah, I think it's okay. It's okay.
I really hope, Magog just actually starts incorporating Zebra so we can make a proper programming block. Because who knows where his fucking power comes.
Can I just say, like, Magog's refusal to embrace our Lord Zebra as his own personal savior is actually really bothering me right now.
It's, I'm feeling a fatwa coming on, honestly.
A fatwa upon the fucking necromancers of Morskar, because they deny the sanctity of our Lord Zebro. This is true.
Well, I mean, you saw Beard Barian who was like going out in public dressed like an ordinary taxpayer in Canada the other day. I think he's preparing to fake his own death so he never has to like risk running the wrath of Zebro.
Dude, this is some fucking straight up QAnon shit, but honestly, it's not QAnon, it's Xenon.
I mean, they got Z-level clearance, dude. I mean, how else were they gonna know that, 152 members of the Democratic caucus were going to go to prison for child molestation.
Fuck the deep state. More like deep Jew state, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, more like deep throat state. Stormy Daniels, am I right? Yeah? No.
All right.